I'm Jack Jordan, former superintendent of Northside School District, and today we have something that we've been waiting for quite some time, and that is the museum's interview with the first graduate of Northside High School, Geraldine Scarborough. Jerry, it's great to have you here, and we'd like to know how your family came to Texas, where they came from, kind of that evolution of the Steubing family and others that came to Texas and settled this part of San Antonio.
Okay, well, it's a long story. No, I'm Geraldine Steubing Scarborough, and I was in the first graduating class of Northside High School in 1951. Don't ever talk about a Steubing because you're probably talking to one of their kinfolks. There are so many of us. Actually, Henry Steubing was my grandfather, and he settled on the corner of Eckhert and Bandera in a farm there, and Grandma and Grandpa had 9 children that did everything necessary on the farm. Grandpa Steubing, Grandpa Henry's father, came from Bicken, Germany, on a ship that landed in Indianola, which is Matagorda.
Matagorda Bay.
Yeah, they unloaded them and took off, and there they were. So there was nothing to do there, no farmland, but they heard that if they went north and west from there, there was farmland to be purchased. So it was my great-grandfather that he and the other pioneers that came from Bicken, Germany, walked Braunfels, Texas. And great-grandpa had 5 children, and when my grandpa Henry was born, his mother died. And then grandpa's father married a sister-in-law, and they came to San Antonio, the outskirts of San Antonio, northwest San Antonio, and eventually Grandpa bought the farm from his father. They had the 9 children, they all worked on the farm, so he helped build the Evers School. And of course the kiddos had to walk from Eckhert Road to Hebner to go to school, and then hurry up and get home and feed the chickens and milk the cows and do the farm work. So we were so proud that the Northside School District named a school after Grandpa Steubing. The 9 children, there's only one living of Grandma and Grandpa's, and it's Aunt Dorothy Wright, and she's 90 years old. And the amazing thing about Grandma and Grandpa, all the eggs and butter and sausage and all that they ate, those 9 children, the first of their 9 to pass away was 71 years old. So I guess hard work, exercise, and sausage is okay.
And they were pretty thin.
Yeah, and then we started getting fat.
Well, yeah.
The grandchildren did. Later on.
Not doing as many chores.
That's
not
right.
rushing home from school to do those
To
chores.
milk the cows and feed the chickens, right. So, and then you want me to tell about myself?
Please.
Okay. I grew up, Grandma and Grandpa gave Mom and Dad a couple of acres, and they built the Little Rock House, which still stands a half a block off of Bandera Road. And I went to Leon Valley School, and I'd go flying down the hill to catch the school bus. Take us to Leon Valley. They had 2 buses. And I went through Leon Valley School from the 1st grade to the 10th grade. And then the 11th grade, the school bus took the students to Jefferson because we didn't have a high school. So I went to Jefferson, I'll say 11th grade, my junior year, and at the end of that year, Northside was built. And so I went there and was in the senior class. My dad was on the school board of Leon Valley when they first started talking about building a high school, a consolidated high school for Mackey, Helotes, and all the other schools that had to manage to get their students to a high school. And as a senior, we didn't realize, none of the kids did. There were 10 in my class. 7 of us showed up at graduation. The other 3 I don't know about. We didn't realize how we were making history. We got to name the mascot, the newspaper, the annual, and of course the John Marshall Rams as you know them today. We were just Northside Rams then. Proud as we could be of our team, and we all really worked very hard for accreditation. So I graduated with my 9 other, well actually there were 7 of us at graduation. And in your notes you asked me, how did I rank? Well, I was second in my graduating class because my very good childhood friend, Winifred Wood, was better in geometry than I was. As a matter of fact, she tutored me, and I'd probably be over at Marshall trying to pass geometry if I didn't have such a good friend. So anyway, at our graduation, we, Carlta Cody,
Ed Cody's wife?
Ed Cody's wife played the piano for our graduation. And I don't know if he was, I don't know, he wasn't superintendent there. Mr. Boone was superintendent at the time, our principal. But anyway, we were just as proud as we could be.
And you graduated there at Northside High School?
Yeah, in the cafetorium, common cafeteria and auditorium. And we did have an ag building. And so, of course, the guys all want to take ag so they could get out there with Mr. Finto. And we had a home ec room and then a couple of offices and the rest were classrooms, academics, and of course we did have typing and bookkeeping. And about 4 years ago, we had a big reunion, big turnout. It gets bigger every year. And I was awarded the honor of being the oldest living graduate of the Northside School District, which my grandson is to me.
You're proud of that.
And he tells everybody. So, Mr. Jordan, what else can I tell you?
Tell us who your principal was at Northside High School.
At Northside, Murray Boone.
Okay.
And then Mr. Biggers was the superintendent. And of course, I was just there the 1 year and then went off to college. And so, you know, your interests changed, so I didn't keep up as much.
The start of the consolidation effort, which consolidated the elementary schools in the north side of town,
Right.
northwest side of town, really, was brought about by a number of laws that were enacted, but the greatest one was the Gilmer-Aiken law that encouraged consolidation, and through that, Northside became independent of the county schools and the elementary schools combined, and that they voted the taxes necessary to support the high school, and things have never been the same. It's just kept growing and growing and growing. What activity, you mentioned athletics, when you were senior, what other classes were there at Northside High School? Were the ninth grade, was the ninth grade there?
Yes, we were, yes, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Okay.
So it accommodated us at that time. But of course we had English, math, history, science, bookkeeping, and typing, and home economics. And of course the boys had the ag and they had shop. And so we were rounded, and when our football team was formed, everybody, all the guys played football. And it's located pretty much the same place it was at the time. but there were nothing but rocks out there. So those poor guys had a rough time. And we finally scored a touchdown against Bandera. You thought we won the Super Bowl. We were all so happy. And we had a pep squad, and we had a newspaper, a typed newspaper, and with the mimeograph, yeah, good old mimeograph machine, and put together an annual. Got to select the class ring. The annual is the horn, and the newspaper, the Rampage, and I'm pretty sure that stuck.
That's the name.
That stuck. So
You mentioned Marvin Finto.
Yes.
That was the ag teacher
Right.
and maybe the shop teacher and what have you. Tell me some of the other teachers that you recall.
Heskew,
Yes,
Marvin
Heskew.
and one of my, and Mrs. Rawlson. Gosh, and I'm trying to think of the home ec teacher that escapes me now.
Baldwin?
Well, no,
No.
a lot of birthdays
Right.
have come since then. And my dearest teacher that I loved and respected was Ethel A. Scott. Any of the boys would fool around and talk and throw paper and everything, but the minute that doorknob turned, you could hear a pin drop. And I wish students had the same respect for the teachers and the administrators that we had for ours, especially Miss Scott.
She was business.
Yeah.
I bet she loved kids.
Yep. She didn't smile much,
No,
but I
but
adored her, and she was
in her heart.
a big influence on me.
That's-
So I
that's
had my
interesting.
wonderful parents and Miss Scott, and a wonderful family, extended family. Yeah.
But tell us about your family. I know after graduation, kind of take us forward some.
Oh, after graduation, I, of course, went to the University of Texas, was going to be a teacher. So I went one year, came home for the summer, and a good friend of ours worked for Southwestern Bell. I didn't say anything, but she said, "Why don't you come apply? We need service representatives." And I thought, money, a paycheck, a real paycheck. So I went down and interviewed and got the job on the spot, and worked as a service representative. And I enjoyed the job, and I enjoyed the paycheck. So I thought, well, I'll wait and go back to school. Well, that's kind of hard to do once you get that paycheck. And so I worked there and went into management and traveled in public relations for the telephone training program that Southwestern Bell sponsored. Then I met my husband, Robert Scarborough,
Where'd you meet him?
at the telephone company. A friend, we had a mutual friend, and he said, "You ought to meet that girl." So we met for coffee and started dating, and then he went into the management training program, and then we got married in 1960 and moved quite a bit and had little twins, but unfortunately they were premature. Then 2 years later, we had our little daughter, Jane, who graduated from Marshall.
Marshall.
Yeah, she went to Marshall and graduated from Marshall High School. And then she married and gave us a precious little grandson, which I must show you. This is a picture of us celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Northside School District. And he was about 4 then, and I'm not going to tell you how old I was, but I represented the past, and he represents the future. And I thought it was very clever, and I just had such a fun year with all the activities.
And I understand he reminds you about some of these things every now and then.
Yeah, especially my oldest living thing. He likes to remind me about that, which is I promptly took to the Northside Museum. So they put it in the case so I don't have to deal with him. Okay.
Did you ever, in your wildest dreams, see Northside growing to the extent that it has?
Every time I hear the statistics, I cannot believe the growth. But my husband and I, my dad passed away in 1986, and my mother lived in her home, lived a block away until a few years ago. And then we moved to Helotes. And 2 months ago, she moved in with us. She sold her house and said, that's enough. I'm 95 years old. I don't need to live alone anymore. And I think she's pretty happy with us. But Wild Horse Canyon and all the development out the Bandera Road, O'Connor High School, it's just unbelievable. Every place you go, they're putting up a new school, and that's great. I mean, we have to educate our children.
No more important business, maybe one.
And being a teacher is one of the most important jobs in the world, and I don't think they get the credit. They don't lock the door and go home and say, I'll worry about that tomorrow.
No,
They've got many duties and others to deal with.
Jerry, it's been great to have this opportunity to visit with you and to kind of rethink the strength of the people that came to Northside from Germany, from Poland, from areas that are basically Serbia and other areas. The whole strength of this community was built by people that were willing to walk 150 miles from Indianola.
Right.
And most people today, when you say Indianola, they probably don't even know where Indio is, unless they fish down there or have driven out to the park because it was blown away in a hurricane. And I imagine that most of the treks that they made toward New Braunfels, they made staying close to rivers so they could get water, and how strong these people were to survive and to build a future. And my understanding is that some of them went to New Braunfels and they were expecting to find property and maybe a home or a small home for them, and they found property that
was it a few acres or something that wasn't enough to plant a big garden and have a few cattle and survive. You couldn't survive.
You weren't going to become dairy farmers. And, the property that y'all purchased and your family purchased is right there on the Leon Creek?
Yeah, the back part of it's on the Leon Creek. And Ellen Burns and her husband Bob, after Grandpa passed away, in his will, he stated that the farm should be sold and the monies divided among his 9 children. He did not want any squabbling about who gets what and so on and so forth. Sell it, give all the children the money, and he was very wise in doing that because we all know of a lot of cases where it's not simple. And Bob and Ellen Burns bought the property and continued to dairy there, remodeled the old farmhouse, and Ellen, as many of you know, taught at Leon Valley School for many years.
A great teacher and well respected
by everyone.
So Mrs. Scott and Mrs. Burns, you start putting names, Marvin Heskew and Marvin Finto.
Yeah.
Strong
and
people.
Boone, Mr. Boone.
Murray Boone, Ed Cody. But I can still see Mr. Burns driving his pickup all over the place, sometimes with bales of hay on the back of it. And I had the great fortune of course, we've interviewed Mrs. Burns. And I had the great fortune of teaching her son, Barry, and coaching him. And what a great kid he was, and what a loss.
Oh, yeah, tragic.
Tragic. And Mrs. Burns still as strong as can be. Jerry, it's been a pleasure to sit down and
we
visit
had a lot
with
to
you.
talk about, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Thank you for asking me to come in. Appreciate it.